Hello everyone, welcome back to the show. I hope you are doing very well. In today's video, we have a very exciting game straight from, that's upside down, Bobby Fischer's My 60 Memorable Games. It is game number 41, page 260, if you are following along at home. And it is against Mr. Robatsch. Fischer versus Robatsch from 1962. It was in the Chess Olympiad, and Robatsch was a very strong player. He was awarded the GM title a year before this game, and he even has an opening named after him. Let me show you quickly. If we go to here and here, bam! This is called the Modern or the Robatsch Defense. Shout out Robatsch for coming up with this one. Basically, you'll see in the game how he employs that kind of strategy to essentially give Bobby Fischer the center and try to counterattack in a few moves afterwards. But Bobby Fischer just completely shuts him down. This is a very short game, and Bobby Fischer makes light work of Robatsch, even though, like I said, he is a very strong player. He could have been trying out his opening, but he did have 11 Olympiads for Austria between his very long chess career, and he played board one for all of them. Most notably, I'm told by the very credible Wikipedia, in his first Olympiad game before this in 1960, this was in 1962, he achieved an average score of 84%, which is quite nuts for chess, considering normally, say even if you win as white and draw as black, that's not 84%. So he performed very well, and he took home the board one gold medal, which for an Austrian, Austrian chess wasn't known as a powerhouse as perhaps the USSR, perhaps even the US was as well. So very strong player. And yeah, so the game continues. Hang on, let me just make myself a little bit less obnoxiously big. There we go. So the game continues as a Scandinavian. Against Fischer, it's kind of risky to play something like the Scandinavian, especially this move, Queen takes d5, because it allows this tempo. Fischer says in his book, the more modern approach would be something like knight f6, thrown into recapture, and after something like this, well, these pawns are kind of just creating some weaknesses of their own, and so black can just continue something like this, for example, and here we have just a completely different chess game. But as the game panned out, it came like this, and this is a fine move. It was, I think, Bronstein, a very strong Russian player, who first really coined this Queen d8 move. Really, it's what we call a modern defense, of where you let the opponent have the center, and then you try and counterattack with pawn breaks and by attacking your pieces. You're attacking their pieces with yours. Against Bobby Fischer, though, it doesn't really work. It's quite good against more positional players and stuff like that. But against Bobby Fischer, you can't let him get 2 or 3 tempo up in the opening. Because here he takes the advantage, takes the center, as you should. And here we see Robatsch put his own kind of spin on the Scandinavian defense, which is what this opening is. Normally here you'd see, again, like normal moves like this here, bring the bishop out, maybe play c6, play very solid, like this, essentially. Robatsch, however, obviously very famous for playing 1g6. That was the opening that was named after him. So he wanted to try and play this kind of system in this game. And Bobby Fischer continued here with bishop f4. So in the past, Robatsch said that he had success with, after a move like this, defending the central pawn, because black's clearly going to attack it again. Say the game continues like this, playing h3 to prevent this bishop move, which would remove the defender. And after something like this, Robatsch had said to Bobby Fischer himself after the game that he'd had quite a bit of success with this kind of system, ganging up on the d4 pawn. And so Bobby Fischer didn't really want to go into lines like this, and instead opted to go for a very quick development And you'll see how after a move like this, again attacking this pawn twice, Bobby Fischer just doesn't really pay much attention. He comes queen d2. Now, there are a few reasons why he plays this. The first, really, is so he can castle and just develop very, very quickly, because that's what Bobby Fischer's going for. He sees that his opponent has left all of his pieces on the back rank, spending time to bring the queen out and move it back. And he just knows that if he can get ahead in development, then he can start a big attack and win the game. Secondly, this queen and bishop line up on these dark squares. Now, the setup that black wants with this knight here is no longer possible, because Bobby Fischer can simply just take, and after something like this, he's just a piece up. You can't play knight h6 in this position. And also, when this bishop comes here, even if this knight comes here, you can trade off this dark square bishop, which if black castles kingside, this dark square bishop is often the best piece and one of the best defensive pieces as well. And if those dark square bishops get traded off, then these, oh, I didn't mean to play that, then these dark squares around the king get very, very weak. And you'll see a similar motif in the game. Also, you may be thinking, okay, but what if you just take this pawn, right? Is this pawn not just hanging? Well, I mean, after something like castles here, for example, now it's kind of hard. It gets a bit tricky here. After something like maybe even, just trying to defend the knight, you can just put pressure on this. And where do you go from here? I mean, if you're not careful, if you just move this back, for example, well, this is just mate in one because this knight is pinned and this queen is protected. Obviously, Robatsch wouldn't fall for something like this. Say you come here, well, knight b5, again threatening the bishop with the knight, but also threatening on c7 this nasty little fork, which would just win the rook straight up. And again, this is not very good. Okay, what if you take with the queen instead? Well, again, after the exchange of queens, now you can come knight here, and there's not really much you can do to stop knight takes c7. After something like this, for example, I mean, you can just snap that straight off the board, and again, you're still threatening this, so that didn't really do anything. And after something like bishop b6, you can just take here, and after a few more moves, this is completely winning. You're already, I mean, you can take here and be a pawn up, but actually the computer here gives castles, which is just a crushing move, to be honest. Not even paying attention to this because you've just got a mate threat on the board. But yeah, anyway, none of that was played. Bobby Fischer, after queen d2, his opponent played knight f6, just trying to develop. And again, because the knight can't come here to h6, the next best square is f6, which isn't ideal because it kind of blocks in the bishop, and the knight is better placed here on f5. But you need to get your pieces out somehow, especially when you're already tempo down like black is. Bobby Fischer continues with his plan, castling, and black plays c6. This is a fine move, restricting this this knight, and also giving some air for the queen, maybe to come out this way, attacking the kingside structure, or maybe out here as well. Yeah, this is a fine move. I think it's the engine top move as well. And Bobby Fischer comes here with bishop h6. Now, after this move, castles from black, in his book, the commentator, not Bobby Fischer, but I believe it's Larry Evans, has this quote: "Fischer proceeds to institute such a crisp attack that one is reminded of Morphy in his heyday. Seeking safety for his king, Robatsch makes the mistake of castling too early. Fischer, already castled on the opposite wing, incurs no risk advancing his kingside pawns, using them as battering rams to pry open the g-file." As we can see, this bishop is going to trade for this bishop, and that will leave the king very, very weak. And Fischer's next move should be no surprise to you at all, and he simply just busts the king open like this. What black should have done instead, and what Bobby Fischer gives, is after something like takes and takes, the queen here is now kind of misplaced if the king is able to castle queenside, and so black should just continue something like this, getting their pieces out and eventually castling queenside, where This queen is now kind of misplaced on this side of the board, and black is completely safe here. They've connected their rooks. And again, this is just a chess game. Both sides have weaknesses and strengths, and this would have been a much, much better chance for black. However, as Larry Evans says, he castles far too early and the wrong way, which just allows Bobby Fischer to just start pushing his pawns up the board. Now, after queen a5, trying to get some air for the queen. Again, this is the third time this queen has moved here, here, and here. Really, again, you should be moving these pieces out, maybe coming bishop here, allowing for this bishop to defend in some positions. Whereas instead, bring the queen out. It's a fine move. Oh, it's a fine move, but yeah, it's a little bit slow, and these pieces here just never really get out, as you'll see in the game. Bobby Fischer just continues pushing h5. It's a very natural move, and after g takes h5, this is a mistake, and already after 10 moves, the engine already gives a huge advantage to white. This is just a completely crushing position. Yeah, the engine plus 3.3. You wouldn't think that Bobby Fischer here is playing a very, very strong player, someone who is renowned, and like I said up here, got a gold medal for board 1 in the Olympiad. But this is just again and again what Bobby Fischer does to his opponents. He just makes them look very, very amateurish, and it's really just very astonishing how he makes very good players look rather bad. But anyway, continuing on, Bobby Fischer again develops a piece. This bishop now, with this pawn structure just compromised here from black. This bishop just looking into the heart of black's king. And after some developing moves here, Bobby Fischer uses this time to get his last piece into the attack. Now maybe this knight can come here, where it would look very, very nice on f5. And it would also just simply attack this loose pawn on h5. And after black moves this rook, trying to get a little bit of activity, but also making sure that maybe they can move this this bishop back, so there's no longer a pin on the rook. Bobby Fischer now, instead of going with the original plan of knight g3, plays a very, very strong move in this position and just decides to sack another pawn. Why not? You've already sacked the h-pawn, why not sack the g-pawn, open up the lines? Again, he can do this because he's just got such an astounding lead in development. These pieces might as well just be off the board. He's basically 2 pieces up in this position. His rooks are connected. His pieces are just on the best squares possible. And this is just how you should attack. This is attacking chess 101. Just open up the lines to the king by sacrificing some pawns if you have to. And here, I mean, there's a few options for black. I mean, if they take with the knight, I mean, simplest is just to exchange the bishops and then just simply kick the knight away and move the rook to the open file. And here, if the king goes back, then simply queen here, where this attack is just pretty much unstoppable. This knight is going to hop in this way maybe, but also you're threatening this checkmate as well. There's just too many threats here. Black will lose. Alternatively, if you take with the pawn, again, kind of a similar story. You just exchange bishops, hop in with the queen, and yeah, there's just too much pressure here with the queen on this open H file. And this, again, will lead to a very quick checkmate. Yeah, so in this position, after g4, you can't really take. So black goes knight f8, just trying to really reinforce and just overcrowd the kingside position and just get as much protection there as possible. But really, it's too little too late already. The computer gives this as just completely winning. Bobby Fischer takes on h5, closing the h file. However, it opens up the g file, and really, this is just game over from here. Robatsch now, again, just tries to hop in with the knight. But again, this is the third move with the knight, and it's not really doing too much here. The only thing it's doing is, after the rook comes to its most natural square here, is just being exchanged for being able to recapture the exchange bishop. Excuse me. The queen slides in. Very natural move. It's very strange how Bobby Fischer's moves just look so natural, and yet this is what he was very good at. Again, just making very, very well-known, well-respected opponents just look amateurish by playing the most easy-looking moves. But really, it's just a testament to how good his chess ability was, just to wipe these players off the board. His opponent tries defending, because obviously he was attacking here on g7, but he just simply doubles up using this queen as a tempo. This queen has to move back again. This is, what is that, the fourth move this queen has made, and it's still on its starting square. This is not very good, and he simply just doubles up rooks, and his opponent here makes a blunder and just blunders the knight. The idea really is, I mean, he's attacking the queen, and so he's also attacking the rook, and so he's just trying to exchange some pieces off. However, here he just simply blunders a piece, because in this position, you can't take the bishop, because simply just taking here, and after, say, taking here, you're just down, you're just down a rook for a queen, which is just losing, and if takes with the knight, well, this is just checkmate, so you can't really do that. And if you don't take the bishop, well, I mean, you're just a piece down. If you take here, for example, again, this mate threat is still on the board. You can't do anything about it. Yeah, this is not good. A better try, other than coming here, Bobby Fischer mentions in his book that this is the best move, the only move that really holds, but black is still at a large disadvantage. This is just a horrible move. In this position, there is just a complete crippling bind. All of these pieces are just stuck. They can't move anywhere. This is just not a good position for black to be in. And yeah, the computer, very, very strangely, seeing all of these pieces able to jump in, these pieces really just perfectly placed. This is the only problem piece for white. Not even a problem piece, just underdeveloped piece. The computer gives knight d1 in this position, with the idea of just simply hopping in this way with the knight. But in his book, Bobby Fischer gives the analysis, just simply playing d5 and trying to open lines and hop in with the knight this way. After, for example, just takes here, and now you're just threatening to simply chop this knight here on f6, and then take here with the queen defended by the bishop on h7, giving checkmate, and there's nothing really you can do in this position. Yeah, for example, something like this. Again, this just shows Bobby Fischer completely crushing his opponents. And yeah, this is just a fantastic game that I showed to all of my students. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to like and subscribe. Also, if you want my one-to-one help, I am offering my coaching services. I will get you to 1800. We'll work one-to-one for a couple months, and I will work full-time to get you the ELO you want. So if that sounds up your street, check out the top link in the description. We'll hop on a call. We'll see what we can do. We'll yeah, I'll see how I can work for you, essentially. And yeah, check out the link to this study as well. Will also be in the description, and the link to my Instagram in case you wanted to follow me for various reasons. That will also be in the description, so check that out. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you found it educational. Hope you found it entertaining. Hope you love chess as much as I do, because I love chess! Yes. Thank you very much, and goodbye. Mwah.